Yo peeps, Erik Galaxy here. Happy Lunar New Year. Yeah, I know I'm about 10 days late on that, but I was a little distracted by things that were happening in Kansas City last week. So apparently it hasn't turned out too happy for some people. It's the year of the dragon, which apparently means prosperity and imperial power. Not really sure what imperial power is as opposed to, or whatever with other powers. But anyways, imperial power, prosperity. So there you go. Hello, Lunar New Year. Anyways, so this is kind of the time of year where there's, I wouldn't say it's a total void, but it's a semi-void because football has ended. Although there's still football activities going around, which I will talk about later. You know, basketball is at the All-Star break, so there's nothing really going on this past week other than the All-Star game, which I will get into later on. I mean, we got hockey. We got hockey, which is, I like watching hockey in person because it's way better than watching on TV. And I only watch my team, and my team is sucking right now, and they're not really on TV a whole lot anyways. So we got soccer. Soccer's pretty much a year-round thing, I think. It seems like they're always playing. Somebody's playing somebody all the time somewhere. There's so many leagues out there. Too many leagues. I mean, you can't keep up. You got the Premier League, you got the MLS, you got the Bundesliga, you got La Liga, you got La Liga, you got there's a lot of La Ligas out there. And you're never really sure the schedule. I mean, the schedule, because it's like they all have these like in-season break-off tournament things going on. So you're never really sure what's happening. Once again, I've said this before. I loved playing soccer. I started playing soccer back when we had a volleyball as a soccer ball because nobody had a soccer ball. And I loved playing it for several years, but the only time I ever watch it is if the men's national team is playing or the World Cup's on. Other than that, yeah. But there's a lot of it out there. There's a lot of it out there if you're interested in that. We got Major League Baseball. Spring training's happening. Call me when the regular season starts. But the big thing this past week probably was the Daytona 500. So that was interesting just in the fact that the guy who won apparently started out playing as a child online internet racing games or whatever, and he got really good at it and was winning these awards and stuff. So he got to finally get to the point where I think when he was like 15 years old, he told his dad, "Hey, I want to go race real cars." And his dad said, "Sure, let's go race some real cars." So they started doing the Legends tour, which is basically cars with motorcycle engines that look like 1930s cars. It's pretty interesting, but they're like 5/8 scale. But anyways, he started racing those, and well, now he's won the Daytona 500. Kudos to him. It was a little anticlimactic because, well, the race was really good until, with 10 laps to go, there was a wreck that took out pretty much all of the good drivers. All the top drivers got wiped out. So it was basically, he was kind of like left, the last man standing, right, so to speak. And the race ended on a caution, which is always boring because it basically means there's a yellow flag out there, so they're just driving around, and nobody can pass anybody, they can't pass each other, so they're just like, checker flag. So, but no, he's got a trophy now. Went from internet racing to racing real cars and winning the Daytona 500. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Anyways, but yeah, let's face it, it is basketball season. Without any further ado, let's get on with the show. So the All-Star weekend started on Friday. The first event that they had was it's called the All-Star Celebrity Game. Interesting to say All-Star Celebrity because there certainly wasn't Celebrity All-Stars. Because, I mean, about a third of the people, I had no idea who they were. About another third of the people were current athletes, but not basketball people, like football, auto racing. I don't know. There was even a WNBA player on there. I think she's currently still playing in the WNBA, which is kind of cheating, isn't it? You know, so and there was probably about another third that were okay. I knew Jennifer Hudson. I guess I knew her. There was somebody else there, but for the most part, it was people that I really didn't know who they were, or they were current athletes. You know, I mean, come on. I mean, football players. You know, they played basketball in high school, so they're not like slouches or anything. Matter of fact, Micah Parsons, football player, ended up winning the MVP trophy of a stupid celebrity game. I mean, I remember it used to be where you knew all the celebrities, and now you don't even know them. I mean, Battle of the Network Stars. I mean, come on, you know, you knew who everybody was. It wasn't any like you know C-listers on there. I mean, you had Adrian Barbeau, Robert Conrad. Who's that guy from Eight Is Enough, and Scott Baio and whatnot, you know. I mean, you knew who they all were. There weren't anybody that you didn't know. It wasn't like, oh, that person that played a maid on the third season of whatever yada yada show. No, you knew everybody. Now, I know a lot of you out there are probably saying, who the heck are those people? Yeah, I probably should be hashtagging AARP on this one. Anyways, the first thing I noticed about the game, because I kind of came in halfway through, was the floor was weird. Because it was like, I'm looking at it and going, that's not a basketball court. That's like simulator or something like that. Found out later on, apparently that this LED court they lay down on top of the regular court so they can have all these cool graphics like fire going around and stars lighting up, and yeah, it was pretty interesting, arrows and stuff. So it was kind of interesting in that way. The game itself was like pretty much became secondary to what was going on with the graphics and the commentary, and there was a lot of commentary. I mean, it got to the point of where the game became a sideshow to all the talking and the guests and the celebrities, yada yada yada. But yeah, I mean, I want to see a celebrity basketball game. I want to see people that I know, like from TV, movies, musicians. Sure, you want to throw in the occasional politician that everybody knows in there. Sure, why not? But yeah, it was a little. It was mildly entertaining. But yeah, I would have liked to have known more of the people on the court and less talking going on. But alright, so the next event was called Rising Stars, which basically consisted of rookies, second-year players, and some people from the G League. The most interesting thing was when the team consisting mainly of G Leaguers ended up beating this other team that had like Victor Wembanyama on it, Brandon Pojemski, like a lot of good players in the NBA. They were all rookies, and they ended up beating them, and it was like, whoa. So I don't know if that tells you anything about the All-Star weekend or the G League, or maybe those guys that were, just they weren't into it or whatever. I don't know if they were getting paid or not, but the most, I wonder about the second year guys. It's like, you're not a rookie, you're in your second year, so you're good enough to make this Rising Stars thing, but you weren't good enough to get beyond the rising stars. You're not a star yet. But they may make a splash someday in the NBA. You never know. But yeah, it was once again, it was mildly entertaining. So the worst thing I saw was the skills competition. The first thing was that they brought up this list of rules, and it was long, and it's like da 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 da, and they only put it up for a little bit. So you're like, wait a second, I'm only to the fourth line of the rules and everything, and it's like, so they were so long. Even the players that were in the contest didn't know some of the rules, as evidenced by how they went along their business. You know, it used to be the skills competition was hombre y hombre. All right, you had two people and they were running against each other. They weren't racing against the clock. They were running against each other, there's a lot of difference between racing against the clock and racing against when out of the corner of your eye you're seeing that other dude over there and he's passing you. So a lot of different competition, and you know they didn't have any weird graphics or anything. It was basically just bouncing the ball, dribbling the ball, shooting the ball, yada yada, passing, whatever. But now it's gone to a relay now, so you have like 3 players on each team, a relay. I mean, you know, I don't want to be that get off my lawn kind of guy, but it was confusing with the list of rules and the graphics and everything, and it was not fun to watch. Not fun. It wasn't even mildly entertaining at all. So I think they need to go back to the original way it was, where you had hombre, you know, and then you had certain what do you call it? Certain you had legs to it. All right, so on Saturday they had, which has pretty much become the highlight of the weekend. It used to be the dunk contest, but I'll talk about that in a little bit here. Yeah, the 3-point contest has become the premier event. Once again, having watched this over several decades, it used to be where you had a cart of balls and you shot the balls from various parts around, you know, the court, and then all of a sudden they said, oh, let's give them this thing called the money ball, which is a different color ball, and say, okay, well, you can shoot that, and if you make that, it's more points. And now they've gone to, well, you get a whole rack of money balls, and you get to put the rack of money balls wherever you want on the floor. So like if you're like, your best 3 points are from the side, then you put it there. If your best 3 points are from the middle of the floor, then you put it, or to one of the angles, you put it there. And then they put another money ball like in between the money ball racks, whatever. So money ball. It's the thing about making the 3-point shots against the clock. It's still kind of exciting. Yeah, that's always good. And it's pretty much the first contest that focused on the individuality of a player, you know, as opposed to the whole team thing. So, and that's what you really want to see. You really want to see the players in their element doing the things that they do the best. So yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a good one. That was more than mildly entertaining. So the big event that everybody was waiting for was the Steph versus Sabrina contest. You have the top NBA 3-point shooter. You got the top WNBA 3-point shooter competing against each other. They were using different balls. Sabrina was using the WNBA ball. Steph was using the NBA ball. But they were both shooting from the men's 3-point line. And Sabrina asked for this, and I'm assuming that the reason she did was because she thought she wouldn't really have a problem shooting from the men's 3-point line, because if you watch her during games and during the WNBA, she pretty much launches a whole lot of her shots from beyond WNBA three-point line. So it was probably not a big deal to her. It was close because Steph needed that last money ball to beat Sabrina. And you could tell he was kind of sweating a little bit about it. Yeah, it was good. She showed up. She did really good. I'm not going to get into all the idiots that are saying, "Oh, her 26 points would have made the men's three-point final," which it would have. But once again, it's a lighter basketball, so I don't know if that makes a difference as far as shooting. And would they have had her shoot from the? The point is moot. It's ridiculous. Once again, men's basketball, women's basketball, not the same. Although, I do wonder how well she would do in the NBA because, I mean, she's got skills. I mean, is she better than maybe, I don't know, some guys that are sitting at the end of the bench? You know, obviously she's not going to be like driving in the lane towards the basket, but, you know, she can shoot the three-pointer. Three-pointers are three-pointers. So she's got the moves. It'd be kind of interesting to see how she would do in the NBA. But anyways, it was a cool, nice little event. Speaking of women's basketball, the big story this past week in women's college basketball, NCAA, Caitlin Clark passing Kelsey Plum for all-time score for the on the what's it called, the NCAA women's basketball list. Now here's the thing: there have been other women who have scored more points than her at the collegiate level, but they weren't sanctioned by the NCAA at the time. They were in something else called not AAU. Was it AAU? It was something else, but it wasn't the NCAA. So there's that thing. Also, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, she's only 99 points shy of passing Pete Maravich." What? This is why I hate records. I hate these stupid records. Because, like, Pete Maravich, first of all, averaged 44 points a game. Caitlin Clark averages about 33. And Pete Maravich played in an era where there were no three-point shots. It was all twos. No matter. So, and I'm pretty sure Caitlin Clark, most of her shots were, or a lot of her shots were three-pointers. So to say, oh, she's gonna pass Pete Maravich for an all-time list of Division I basketball, blah 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 blah. Knock it off! Knock it off! No, she's the greatest scorer in women's NCAA basketball. That's it. So, you know who the best women's basketball player? Cheryl Miller. She's the GOAT. That's the GOAT right there. So, yeah. I know we're all prisoners of the moment. Oh, she's greatest. Goats here, goats there, goats everywhere. But yeah, Steph versus Sabrina, that was a nice moment. It was a nice moment. So the dunk contest used to be the premier event. That's where all the oohs and ahs came from. Of course, it predates the three-point shot because dunks were around a long time before the three-point shot was implemented. Yeah, it used to be the premier event, but now, I don't know, it's lost a lot of luster, so to speak, because you pretty much don't have really a lot of the top dunkers in the league dunking. This year you had the other guy on the Celtics, what's his name? And then you had Jaime Jaquez, who was really cool because his hair, he was dunking his hair, was all. But for the most part, it's kind of like been watered down. Obviously the guy, the G League Ignite League guy, the G League Internet guy, G League Internet guy, ended up winning. He won last year. He has some awesome dunks. He has some awesome dunks. Way better than the NBA players were dunking. And he won, of course. But I started thinking, well, shoot, if we're not going to be having the best NBA players doing the dunk contest, then and some guy from the internet wins, why don't we just invite whoever? Just do one of those. Hey, send in your tape, send in your video of you dunking, and we'll sign you up for the dunk contest. Because if that's the way it's going to be, then just any Joe Schmo out there that can dunk and do something fancy, sign them up. Because we don't need the NBA players, obviously. Because yeah, it's once again, did I mention that weird glass floor where it's like, okay, let me just tell you one thing. Walking on glass is not the same thing as walking on wood, okay? Two different surfaces. So, I mean, I can see where there was maybe a little trepidation from other people about maybe they might get injured, on that kind of glass floor. That might be one of the reasons you don't see the top dunkers out there. Also, the scoring was really weird, because it was like, it wasn't the usual 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10. You had like 5 judges, and it was some kind of weird 50-point scale thing. I'm not really sure how that worked out, because they were giving guys like 48.4, 47.6. It's like, where's the point coming from? Now, I'm no mathematologist, so I don't know how that all worked out, but that was kind of weird. Also, the judges were terrible. They were terrible. They were getting booed by the crowd. Now, sure, people are going to boo the judges no matter what because their favorite player got a low score or whatever. But these guys were really messing up. I mean, they were like, everybody's looking at each other going, what's going on here? They were penalizing people because they missed on the first try, which you're not supposed to do. I mean, that's why they give you 3 tries to do your dunk or whatever. So it's not how many times it took you to do it, it's who had the best dunk. I mean, there were people that you wanted to yell at the screen, you don't know what you're doing. But it's not the event that it used to be. I mean, I don't know how the only way you can bring it back is if like the top players in the NBA are entering this contest, which that's not what's happening now. On to the All-Star game. So yeah, All-Star game. Lot of pomp and pageantry leading up to the game. I mean, like a lot. The build-up to the actual game was maybe longer than the game itself. I mean, there was just a lot of everybody here, everybody there, guest hosts, interviews. Yeah, it was just like, let's get on with the game. I was glad to see that the format went back to the East versus West. Other than that, what was that? The whole playground thing, which is kind of a weird gimmick, where it's like, oh, I'm choosing you, and I'm choosing you, and I'm picking you, and I'll have him, and I'm not going to take the kid in the shorts and the glasses who's chasing butterflies, so that which was kind of awkward, really. It was like, oh yeah, out of all the All-Stars right here, you're the last one picked of All-Stars. A little awkward. But yeah, so I'm glad that it went back to the East versus West format. I thought that might make it more competitive. It kind of did at the beginning. The game started out good, and I thought, okay, all right, here we go. There was some defense being played, but then, I don't know, it kind of slowed down, like a lot, like quarter by quarter by quarter. So by the end of the fourth quarter, people are just walking around throwing up shots and balls and whatever, and people are just swiping at them as they go by. No defense whatsoever. I don't know, maybe because the pace started kind of fast at the beginning. Did they get tired? I mean, you got 10 guys on the bench. These are professional athletes, so whatever. I'm not going to get into the whole being tired thing. But, still, I don't really care about the score as long as it's entertaining. I don't care if they score 200 points against a piece. As long as it's entertaining, I'm okay with it. But in this case, yeah, towards the end, not entertaining, and it pretty much sucked. A lot of pundits are saying, oh, well, if you gave them more money, they would play harder. But it's like, how much money do you need? They're making millions of dollars a year, and shouldn't it be like you want to just beat the other guys, team-wise? Once again, oh, we won't want to get injured, but the rate of people getting injured in the All-Star game over the past 100 years is 0. 0. So, and that's it. And we're talking about a time when you had Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, all playing balls out in these games. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll. And Adam Silver was pissed. You could tell by his presentation of the trophy. He was pissed because he was like, "Well, you guys scored the most points, so here you go." Right after he had told everybody that, oh yeah, there's going to be a more competitive game this year. Oh yeah. Well, and now there's talk about having the All-Star game being U.S. players versus international players. I had thought that we had already done that. Maybe it's a different. Maybe it's something different. I don't know. But I already thought that we had already done that. The U.S. versus world players, but I guess not. So yeah, there's talk of that going on. It was kind of brought up a question. So what if you have a player who used to be an international player, was born in a foreign country, but now they are a U.S. citizen? I believe Joel Embiid would fit that role. So do they play on the U.S. players, or do they play on the world players? That would be an interesting thing to address. But anyways, yeah, All-Star game pretty much will probably go the way of the pro football game, where it's like there's no longer a game. Now it's just a bunch of skills events or whatnot. But we'll see. And lastly, on media day, when we have the players at the podium and you're asking them questions, can you please put a microphone on the person asking the question? It's like, hey, come on, we have the technology and you got the money, I'm sitting here, I'm watching things, and I'm like, I have to listen to the answer from the person because I can't hear the question. So I have to all of a sudden decipher what the question was because you can't hear it. Can you please put a microphone on the person? Something. Have a guy walking around with a microphone and going up and, talking into it. All right. So let's get into my shorts. So this past week, it was brought to my attention that the whole 49ers players not knowing the rules of the game during overtime was actually not true. There was actually a clip of Kyle Juszczyk and somebody else standing on the sideline, and they're talking, and this is before overtime is happening, and they're like, oh, yeah, I didn't know that was a rule. I didn't know that was a rule. But this is before overtime even started. As usual, things get shown that nobody really looks into and says something or finds out about before they say something. Is that a football conspiracy thing? I don't know. But yeah, the players did know the rules by the time overtime started. So So this past All-Star weekend, Shaquille O'Neal talked about how he was able to break so many basketball backboards. He said he would lift his legs up so that he had more force to bring down the basket, and he called it centrifugal force. One of my microphones I used to use back in the day. Centrifugal force, that's not what he was doing. This is centrifugal force. If I could do this. Oh. All right. This is the Roger Daltrey style, swinging the mic around. Now if I were to let this go, it would fly out in the direction towards that camera right there. That's centrifugal force. All right? What he was doing was not centrifugal force. So just saying, Shaq, not centrifugal force. So I'm watching this commercial the other day, and it's about this lady who's dropping her son off at college, and she's like, "Oh, this is the greatest, this is a terrible day, whatever." And then she finds out that she's got like an offer for her mom minivan, and I'm looking at the screen, $28,000. Who's paying $28,000 for the minivan with all the little stickers on it and the bumper? I mean, you gotta figure he's being dropped off to college, so he's somewhere around 18 years old. So she's probably had that minivan for, oh, I'm just gonna say maybe 10 years, okay? So I looked up 10-year-old minivans, and pretty much the going price is around $18,000 max. And that's all depending on, like, there's no, you know, damage to it. It's basically just regular mileage, you know, yada yada yada. So who's paying $28,000 for a mom minivan? Just saying. All right, so that's a show. As always, Jim Plunkett, Hall of Fame, should be in the Hall of Fame. Peace out.